It seems very lively, this room, and every table I've gone by and eavesdropped at was having a, yeasty discussion. Does every table have some recommendations? I don't see any hands going up. Okay, good. I think I saw some writing on your pages. Angela? There she is. So what we're going to do now, I'm sorry that we don't have time to hear from every single table. What Angela's going to do is go to maybe 3 or 4 tables, depending on time. We want to hear your recommendations, and if you've got any questions to throw at the panel, this is your last chance to have the panel speak up on a topic that you're interested in. Is there a table that dealt with question 1? Okay, very good.
Just want to say, guys, you guys know Oprah Winfrey? Yeah. Well, I'm Angela. I'm the broke Oprah, though, okay? So I want you guys to know that. State your name and your question.
Or if they want to talk about a recommendation, that's fine too.
Okay. I'm Martha Strickler, principal at Cleveland Elementary School in Elkhart, Indiana. And we were dealing with question number 1. And we were talking about solutions to the problem. And we came up with what we thought were 5 important solutions. And one was, the first one was to have district support, and to make sure that the district is truly buying in with the value of parent liaisons and seeing the important role that they play, making sure that they are available and they're supported in their efforts. We talked about the importance of creating a network for parents with special needs children within the school. How important it is that they don't feel so isolated, and that there are so many children within the building that it would be great to have a network for them. And we talked about communication, that there's so much miscommunication that goes on, and it comes from both the district level within the building all through parents not knowing exactly what their rights are, what they can do, what they can't do. Parents who have come in and have actually said to me at one time, gee, I never would have signed this IEP if I would have known that. I had another route, and that's pretty scary when they say that. So I think the communication is a really big piece in all of this, too. And we want to make sure that we have training. And when we talk about training and being able to guide parents, we can't exclude anyone. We're talking about teachers, everybody within the building. We need to include, so that when, again, training and communication going hand in hand, so that when we're communicating with parents, we all are knowledgeable, we're stating correct information, and we're all saying the same thing. And then we also talked about, again, that importance of having that parent liaison who can help parents with so many of the different community resources. Parents who are in need sometimes of even having something with special needs children, of needing a respite. I've had parents come to me and just say, I need help. I need someone to come in. I need to step away for a weekend or whatever. And those resources are there, but parents aren't always aware of them, and that they do exist within the community. So there's a very vital role, as we know, for parent liaisons as a resource within the buildings.
Well, that's a terrific prescription for what needs to happen at the district level, because so often districts will say, well, it's kind of up to the principals. They set the tone for how much families are going to be involved, and what you pointed out is the need for infrastructure and support at the district level. Does anyone on the panel want to comment here? Addie?
No.
She made eye contact with me.
I do agree. I think a lot of times families are given IEPs that are already filled out. You don't really have an authentic conversation at the IEP meeting. Or families feel so intimidated by the room, the space, the people, the language. We know legal discourse is a real hindrance. I went to school for a long time, and there are sometimes words used that I don't understand. So, I think part of it is making those authentically accessible to folks, so they are truly making decisions. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Addie. Mm-hmm. Did your group have any questions for the panel? Okay, great. So who took on
Number 2.
Number 2.
This table.
Oh, good
Yeah.
point, because that's right. You don't have all the questions, do you?
We had question number 2, and our question was, responding to families from various cultural backgrounds, what do educators and other school staff need to know to be able to collaborate with families of different cultures? What should schools and school districts do to ensure that families understand how to work with our systems and have access to information, technology, etc.? And some of the recommendations of our table were to make sure that school staff have an awareness of differing cultures by getting to know their families, not just their students. Better training for educators, especially in the areas of cultural competencies. Build better connections between school staff and the communities from which the young people they teach come. That every school have a community school coordinator to serve as a point person. And lastly, ask parents what they need.
Wow, that's a great list. Anyone want to comment on that from the panel? Jane?
Yay.
No, having that community school coordinator is a terrific idea, and making those connections, because many times people who teach in the school don't live in the community, and they need to understand their families by visiting them and going out into the community. Did you have any questions for the panel, your table? No? You guys did a good job of explaining it all. Jim, do we want to go up to you on your level? Do we have a table that dealt with question 3, which is sharing information? How do we find out what kind of information parents want and the best ways to get it to them? What do families want schools to hear from them? How can we make sure communication is truly two-way?
My name is Jay Gachet with United Way of Central Indiana. And our engaged table came up with a couple answers to the question of sharing information. How do we find out what kinds of information parents want and the best way to get it to them? What do families want schools to hear from them? And finally, how can we make sure communication is truly two-way? So let's see if I can represent the table. The first one is really to ask the parents. Ask the parents, as was talked about by the panel, who are already engaged. Ask them electronically, via mailers, at events that invite them with food. But also when you ask them questions, you need to perhaps not just ask an open-ended question, but maybe a guided question to help them walk through that. The second part was the best way to get it to them, any way and every way. Carrier pigeon to electronically, but very important not to use jargon terms. I think as the panel talked, we have many acronyms that we use freely. And also provide opportunities for face-to-face meetings around times that may be convenient for families multiple times during the year. And then the question of what do families want schools to hear from them. We made some assumptions such as we are willing to work with you, we're on the same team, we're willing to share information, and then finally, how can we make sure communication is truly two-way? And I think the key thing is just be open to it and work collaboratively, which is not a normal action, but to be open to it is key. I think, is that fair, table?
That's a good list.
Right. We did have a question for the panel.
All right.
As we talked about this, we said it seems that parent engagement is an extra activity to a teacher's job description. Emails are returned at night, meetings are at night. How can parent engagement be institutionalized and made part of their normal job description?
Good question. Who'd like to tackle that one? Ray, you're the principal.
I think I truly believe that it's an expectation of a culture that you want to promote in your school. I know one thing that we do at Richmond High School and we just had parent-teacher conferences, and trying to decide as a staff what was the best time to do it, and there is no best time. But we also discussed about if we can relay to our parents that we care as much about them as you do, as parents, as guardians, as families, then all of a sudden we've got a real connection. And I ask my teachers, I say, when you call, I think it's really important to say right out of the gate, I'm calling you because I care about your child. And I think you have a captive audience after you do that. Because as I believe we all know, teachers are teachers because they're passionate. I believe teaching is a calling. It's not a profession. It's more than a profession. It is a calling to really, really make a difference in the lives of children. And if we can get that message to our parents, then we are already going to have a connection where the parent is going to say, oh my gosh, you know, this teacher really cares about my child. Let's get going. What can we do?
I think that's absolutely right.
Could I add-
And your ideas came up about building relationships, face-to-face meetings. These create trust.
Just to add something that's systemic, the state of California sees home visits as so important and crucial that they offer a monetary stipend to teachers for each one that they do. So they give them a little bit back. It's not a ton of money, but the state has a fund that if you're a teacher, you fill out these forms, you have parents sign that they were there. So the state is doing something to help with that systemically.
I just actually finished a report with the National Education Association called Family School Community Partnerships 2.0, Collaborative Strategies to Advance Student Learning, where we looked at teacher-led and teacher-involved practices for family engagement. And what we found in this is often the union is seen as a barrier. We can't do that. It's not in the union contract. The teachers would never agree. But when teachers were approached or even stepped up to take the lead, they were more than willing and able to do this because they know how important it is. And that parent-teacher home visiting project that Addie was just talking about, that's one of the 16 that's profiled in this report. Teachers are paid to make the home visits, and when they start out at a school, it often spreads to, it's voluntary, but every teacher just starts going. And the rate of teacher turnover has gone way down in Sacramento where the practice started, because teachers say, I now feel like I have so much more connection with my students and their families and so much support from the families that I didn't know I had. So question 4 is creating family-friendly schools. That's a concept, isn't it? Every school in a district should be family-friendly. No more fortress schools. What strategies can schools adopt to provide a welcoming, inclusive, and empowering environment for families and students? Jim, you got a table up there?
I do.
My name is Janae Belletz. I'm with the Indiana Parenting Institute out of Gary, Indiana, and we are the executive director and I are grateful to Ms. Garvey for inviting us to this event. And one of the things that our table came up with was First, I'm going to say ask the parents to get their input. I mean, if a family friendly is for them, then I think you need to at first get their input of what they consider as friendly. Because one of the things that we discussed is how often our concept of something is not the same as the concept of the people that we are serving. Another thing to do is to provide accessibility, which was something that I believe I'm going to say your name wrong, is Addie?
Just Addie.
Addie,
Yeah.
Addie, said about making things accessible. We have a person at our table who deals with English as a second language, and they make sure that there's translations of all documents accessible to the parents. So just letting the parents know that these things are available to them and making that accessibility evident and easy for them. We also discussed offering a beginning of school year class for parents so they can get acquainted with the school system. In fact, our organization did a focus group of parents in East Chicago, and they were all at-risk parents. And one of the things that they said that they would like is to have the opportunity to sit down in school and kind of be taught what it's all about. And one parent even said that the kids shouldn't even be allowed in school until the parents went to that school. But, you know, we gave them a cookie later because we liked him for saying that. Be willing to go to the parents, to walk in their shoes. Again, as I stated earlier, a lot of times, I think we all have really big hearts, but we have to understand that we see the world so much differently than they do. And that's one of the big lessons that we've learned at our organization in dealing with at-risk parents, is that things that make sense to us don't necessarily make sense to them, and things that make sense to them don't necessarily make sense to us. So I spend a lot of time talking to our parents, and our English as second language person here was saying the same thing, Jessica, that she spends a lot of time talking to her parents because they're the ones who are there to guide you to what they need, because we can try and guess, but they know better than we do. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can we have a quick report from number 5, question 5, which is around creating partnerships? Is there a table up there? Okay. How can local community organizations, family service providers, post-secondary education, yada, 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 collaborate more effectively with each other and with schools and families and develop consensus about how to reach the goals of improving achievement and narrowing achievement gaps?
Thank you. My name is Greg Porter, and a great table here to come up with a couple of recommendations. One recommendation is engage and implement parental our guardian. We talk about parental, but there's a lot of guardians out there, and we haven't talked about that today, and we want to put that word out there as guardian, who is out there in our society. Get those individuals to have a resource center to keep them involved in their students' activities. That is very key in regards to our partnerships. School improvement plans. There's legislation that's dealing with school improvement plans. We must involve parents or guardians involved in feedback in regard to a school improvement plan, which are the partnerships. And last, also to get local school level parents to be aware of the national movement of Common Core standards in regards to math and English, in regards to our children being ready to go to college or to be career ready. And if we were going to ask a question, our question would be, in a global society, how do we address the achievement/opportunity gap in America today?
Very good. Good work, groups. We have one question here, then we're getting down on break time here.
Yeah, our group also dealt with question 5, but one of the things that I think was left out, and I say this from the perspective of having been a panelist, where your panel is now last week on the school to prison pipeline, was something that's not been entered into the discussion, and that happens all too often, is that our schools sometimes look like correctional institutions, that most IPS schools, for example, have probation officers, judges. Actually, we have a former juvenile court judge at our table who now is the adjudicator in IPS schools, which didn't happen when I was a kid. And I will just say, from the perspective of things getting out of hand in the school to prison pipeline and school resource officers, AKA cops, being in the schools, that at our agency we actually had an experience where one of our therapists in a school in Gary was arrested for obstruction of justice for advocacy work she was doing with her student. So one of the things we didn't address in terms of engagement is, I mean, if we do all this right, can we get the police officers out of the schools, please?
I think the answer to that question is yes. I've never been in a high-achieving school serving a low-income area that felt in the least like a penal institution. And those schools do exist, they can be done, and we've got the research that's the roadmap to get there. And having a policy forum like this is a first step to bringing everybody together to understand what needs to happen. And I thank you for raising that question. it's time for our break. If anyone has any other questions or comments, would you write them on the cards?
Can I just write one really quick issue, and I'm sorry to interrupt. This has just come up at our table. If we're talking about inclusionary language, I think we really want to think about terms like using at-risk families, those communities, and make sure that we're talking about our students, our families, our community. And
Thank you.
I'm hearing that come up, and I just wanted to raise that.
Thank you. As soon as we start pointing fingers, we stop understanding what needs to happen, because we need to look in the mirror instead. Now we're going to take a break and come back at 10:30, and we'll start our second panel. So it's time to stretch, and our second panelist should come up at this time. Let's thank our panel here.